We're very relaxed and cruisy, and it's very
Let's be cruisy. I'm cruisy myself.
behind the scenes kind of vibe. All right. Okay, so let's just dive into it. Well, hey everybody, welcome back to Talk Story Unscripted. I'm Pete.
And I'm Doug.
And today we have a really special guest with us. He's the man, the myth, the legend, or at least he played someone like that on TV. Let's welcome Kevin Sorbo. How are you,
I'm
Kevin?
Kevin Sorbo. Hi, everyone. How's everybody going?
Such an honor to meet you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Good to have you on the program. Hey, before we get any deeper, just want to say, if you're watching this podcast, please subscribe and hit that notification bell and share it on your social media. All right, guys, let's talk story.
Kevin Sorbo, you, sir, are as notorious as Chuck Norris. Everybody knows who you are, man. And I love that about you. But what I love even more is how open you are with your faith. I love your strong stance that you take for godly principles. And I just want to ask you, in your realm, in the Hollywood scene, what is your experience with that? What's your, do you get flack for that in Hollywood?
It's interesting. First of all, Chuck is a friend of mine, and Chuck and I actually did a TV guide cover together way back in the 90s when his show was going strong and my show was going strong. So
I love that.
But anyway, I run into him every once in a while. We do these autograph shows, these Comic-Con shows. Of course, they're all canceled now because everybody's afraid to look at each other. So you can't be worried about that. But it's interesting. I'm a conservative. I know that Hawaii is a pretty liberal state there, but I'm a conservative. I'm a Christian, and I'm not going to lie. I mean, that has certainly hurt my career. If it wasn't for independent movies, I wouldn't have a career. So I find it amazing. And Hollywood doesn't owe me anything. I mean, I went out there. I worked very hard to get to where I want to go. It's called show business, not show. I treat it like a business. Hercules, 176 countries, 7-year run, most watched TV show in the world. To be part of something that amazing. And then Andromeda, 5 years in that series. I'm the first captain after Captain Kirk, Captain Dylan Hunt right here. Wow. Great time to do that. But when I sort of came out of that closet, that Christian closet, that conservative closet, which I've never really hid myself from it, but it's become such a hot point, and politics is downstream of culture. Well, who runs the culture? Hollywood. And what kind of movies mostly does Hollywood do? It's pretty, agnostic, atheistic, right. A lot of violence, a lot of anger, a lot of hate. I'm not a prude in any way. There are movies I'll go to, but there's movies I won't go to. And right. I'm not telling them what movies they should put out, but I certainly tell them, why do you not put out movies that have hope and love and redemption and faith in them? Because there's 80 million households out in this country alone that want to see movies like that. So it's just weird. It's a strange ideology. They scream for freedom of speech. They scream for tolerance. And it seems to me, both of those things, those are one-way streets for some reason. If you have a different opinion than me, that's fine. I have atheist friends. We have great debates. I still love them. They're good guys. They just have a hard time making that leap of faith. Maybe it makes me a bad Christian. I'm trying to change their minds, but we talk about things. So I guess in a loose way, I sort of do. And I hope in the movies I do, like What If and God's Not Dead and Abel's Field and my most recent one that was in theaters, Let There Be Light, I hope people go take a look at those and check them out. Actually, I got to give a plug. I have a new documentary that I narrate called Before the Wrath. So go to beforethewrath.com, and it was amazing to be part of that. I was honored they came to me to narrate it. Brent Miller directed it, produced it, did everything on it. But it's a great documentary. It's really well done, and I like the fact they mix actors during that time period with present day people talking about faith, talking about the Bible, talking about the rapture, talking about different things that they have a lot bigger understanding than I do, and it was pretty cool. It's a great thing, and I hope people watch it, because the first couple of weeks I believe it was the #1 documentary on Amazon.
That's wow. Well, actually, we are friends with Brent Miller, so we're quite familiar with the program. And actually, we premiered it here on the TV station. So yeah, great job.
Awesome.
And that's great. It was actually one of the questions I have a little further down. So I'm just going to ask you now, Kevin. Sure. What's that like, narrating something as opposed to being on screen? Is there a difference? How do you approach that as an actor?
Well, I've done more of those. When Brent said, and he directed it, so he would direct me. I mean, that's kind of normal. I mean, you get that even in video games. I've done video games, God of War 3, The Conduit, all these different. I've done a number of different games. So and you always have a director that's in there. Because they have the vision already. They've already put it together. They pieced it together. They know what everything's about. So they will work on different sort of, be a little more happier, maybe be a little more forceful here. It's interesting, and it sometimes can be a little harder because there's so many passes you got to do at it. I remember doing lines, not necessarily in Before the Wrath, but in like God of War 3, there were lines that they'd made me do 30 different ways.
Wow.
And just boom, boom, boom. And I started losing my voice, because I was adding a little more gravitas to it in that way. And I've done book readings before. I just finished Pat Robertson's latest book, which will be coming out in July.
Oh, that's great.
And it's his last book he's ever going to do. And it's his life. It's his biographical memoir. And they picked me to be the guy to be the voice for him, because he's 90 now, and he just said he wouldn't get through the whole book. So it's pretty cool to it's called My Walk with God. So it's pretty cool to be part of that book.
That's remarkable. Great. That's so cool. You get to have your voice in a video game. I mean, that right there, I think is awesome, man. What a kid.
I got to say, I get invited because of Hercules Andromeda. I get invited to a lot of different Comic-Con and autograph shows. There's one in Indianapolis. It's called Gen Con. It's purely gamers. They could give a crap about Hercules or Dylan Hunt, man. I must have signed 500 of these God of War 3 things, a day, and they come up to me and go, "Man, it was awesome. You did great in this. Sorry I had to kill you in the video, but it was really cool to meet you."
So fun.
I get to kill Kevin Sorbo.
Those guys are hardcore. Those gamers, man. Those are fans. Those guys.
Yeah. Talk about a big industry. Well, now can we talk a little bit about acting?
Sure.
Kevin, what's your process look like when you're preparing for a role? How does that work for you?
Well, it all starts with a script, obviously. I mean, I get a lot of scripts sent to me. I mean, like I said, I've had good success in the independent world. I've got a new TV series I'm starting here in August. I've got 2 movies set to go up in Canada after that. When I get a script, I give it 20 pages. If those first 20 pages don't hold my interest and the storyline and my character, I just pass on it. And obviously, they got to be funded. It's difficult. Funding's the biggest thing, but we'll get to that later. But it doesn't necessarily have to be a faith-based movie. I hate that term, because every movie is a faith-based movie. If you're an atheist, that's a really strong faith. It really is. They seem to believe in absolutely nothing takes more faith than I think that it takes to believe in a supreme being out there.
So true.
Because I have a hard time coming up with that something came from nothing. There was somebody. Absolutely. I know people say, "Where'd God start?" And I said, who knows? One day we'll find out.
Yeah.
That's
but
right.
I don't know. I'm sitting at a chair and a desk right now. Somebody made it. It didn't just appear. So,
exactly.
But it comes down to the character for me. And if I like the role. I mean, I've done 64 movies now, and there's probably a dozen I wish I didn't do. But you don't go in thinking it's going to suck. Let me put it that way. So sometimes it just turns out that way for whatever reasons. And I've done movies I just shouldn't have done. I don't, whatever reason I did them maybe as a favor to a friend, and I was going, it's kind of stupid to be part of that. But for the most part, I think I've picked some pretty good movies. And like I said, it doesn't have to be a family-friendly movie. I mean, I did a movie called Julia X, where I played a serial killer. It was a movie I told my mom she can't see, but it was more of a psychological thriller. It wasn't some slasher thing. It was more of a mind screw around, and it was an interesting character, and it was kind of fun, because I played good guys all the time. But it's funny, in God's Not Dead, and then in Let There Be Light, I played atheists in both those movies. And somebody asked me, goes, "Well, you played an atheist again." I go, "Well, in one case, in God's Not Dead, I was a college professor, which I always joke, an atheist college professor." And I go, "Oh, that's redundant. All I got to say is college professor. People get it." But and then in the other one, in Let There Be Light, I played the world's greatest atheist who debates, people around the world all the time. And then I said, and on top of it, hey, there's more than 2 atheists in the world, okay? If Clint Eastwood can do 7 Westerns playing the same character, I can play 2 atheists, okay?
That's right.
Deal.
That's right.
That's awesome. Is there an actor, Kevin, that you have looked up to, someone who has inspired you as an actor?
Oh, sure, that's easy. I mean, as a kid growing up, it was Paul Newman and Robert Redford. Cool. I mean, those were the guys for me. I was just a kid growing up watching their movies. Obviously, they were together in The Sting and Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. That's the only 2 movies they ever did together. But with Paul Newman, it's HUD. HUD is awesome movies, one of his earliest movies. The Verdict, he's phenomenal in The Verdict.
Oh, yes.
Cool Hand Luke. Robert Redford, one of my favorite, Jeremiah Johnson. Just awesome,
Yes.
awesome movie. And that's he shot that up in the mountains in Utah, and that's how he founded Sundance Film Festival. He fell in love with the area himself. So
Wow.
And I go back even earlier to watching old movies with my mom. I'm a big Cary Grant fan. Jimmy Stewart is phenomenal. Humphrey Bogart. Casablanca, easily in my top 5 favorite movies of all time. And then I was blessed with working with an amazing actor my first year on Hercules. We did 5 2-hour movies before it became a series. And Zeus was played by the great Anthony Quinn. So I got a whole year with this guy that's been nominated for 6 Academy Awards. He's won 2. Every Saturday night for the whole year he was down in New Zealand with me. We had dinner every Saturday night. And I just talk about Hollywood and the people he's worked with. I was like a sponge, and listen to everything he told me about old Hollywood. And it was great. It was cool. So those were huge influences for me, no doubt.
Oh, I can just imagine you sitting in front of the TV, just engrossed, right? Just soaking it all in. I remember that's how I was with like Jim Carrey movies. I would go to sleep listening to Jim Carrey movies. I was like memorizing them in my sleep. Yeah. I love that.
But my mom was a big fan of old Hollywood, so that made a big difference for me because I was, as a kid, an 8-year-old kid, I'd sit and watch these old black and white movies with her. And by 11 years old, I went to a play, and I'm from Minneapolis originally, with all the stuff going on there right now. At my school, when I was in 5th grade, we did a field trip to the Guthrie Theater, a very famous theater in Minneapolis. A lot of Broadway actors come to the Guthrie Theater. Minnesota is very supportive of the arts. And it was The Merchant of Venice. It was Shakespeare. Now, I'm 11. I don't know what the heck they were saying because it was Shakespeare. But I just was blown away by the actors, and I said, that's what I want to do. And I told my mom on the way home, I said, I'm going to be an actor. And she gave me that nice little mom pat on the thigh, and she said, that's nice, dear. So, but I knew it was there. The seed had been planted.
During that time, did you ever have doubts? Did you ever think, "Oh, what am I doing"?
No.
No, you were straightforward.
No.
You went. For
I started practicing my autographs junior high in high school, man.
Awesome.
I was focused. I went to when I moved to LA. I didn't know a soul. Didn't know one person. I got to stay in Santa Monica at a friend of a friend's place, and I didn't even know she was and her boyfriend. I just moved in with them. And I was lucky to find my own place within about 6 months. And everybody's an actor in LA, so it's easy to find out what acting classes to check out. And, I was really lucky. I never had to work another job. And I think I would bet you 99% of actors that moved to LA had to work another job. I was fortunate. I had a very, very good commercial reel already. I'd done a lot of commercials around the world, and I shot commercials all the time. I shot over 150 commercials in my career. Wow. So I was one of those guys that never had to bartend or wait tables. I was always making just enough money, to be able to go to acting classes, pay my rent, pay my car payment, and
wow.
I hit the ground running, man. I said, here I am, and I'm going to make it. One of my goals was to be on Johnny Carson, and he retired, and I was on Jay Leno's show during the first year after he took over for Johnny Carson. Such a bummer. And I never got to meet him. I got to meet Ed McMahon a couple times, but never got to meet Mr. Carson, which was too bad. He still was the classiest and best nighttime host we've ever had and ever will have, because now it's turned into a ridiculous political platform for these bozos that are doing nighttime shows. Johnny Carson had a class.
Well, you know what? I tell you what, man, it's so cool to hear that story. I've never heard that before about how you were first inspired to be an actor. And it's so cool to see how it's very clear that God was setting you up for you to have your platform that you do today to share Christ with the world. I want to ask you, along your journey in acting, has there ever been a role that really stood out to you, that really maybe challenged you to step into that role, or really inspired you? Was there a role like that?
Oh, I would say easy. I did a movie called What If that came out a couple years before God's Not Dead. It's the same writers that did God's Not Dead. Honestly, I think What If's a better movie. There was just not a good job of promotion. It's hard to get little independent movies out there in theaters. It's hard to get the right PR on it. Word of mouth, it's done very well. I know it's sold like 500,000 DVDs since then and a lot of streaming. But What If is even a better movie. But they came to me, PureFlix came to me a couple years later and said, hey, we got this movie, God's Not Dead. Are we curious about, you have to play this atheist. He's not a very nice guy. So let me read the script. I I read the script and I said, yeah, I want to do this. And that was a different role to play because I am a Christian and I had to play an atheist. And it's interesting. I kind of piece it together from people I've seen on television like the president of the Atheist Clubs of America. It just blows my mind. These people have clubs and dues and all that kind of stuff. And the anger that they have about towards something they don't believe in. And I'll say, I don't believe in broccoli. I don't get angry about it. You can have all the broccoli you want, okay? So it's like, it's so weird to me that people get so incensed about people having religion. We have other religions that we can't mention or say anything bad about. The Muslim religion, God forbid we say anything negative about that. But you can bash Christians all you want. And I'm wondering why that is. It's a head scratcher to me. I wish someone would explain it to me. But I got to grab one thing. It's going to take 1 second. Stay right there.
Yeah, don't worry.
I'll tell you why I think I end up going down this other road and doing these family-friendly, faith-based type movies. At the end of season 5 on Hercules, I was having all kinds of problems with my left shoulder up in the right up here, way up high. Things were numb in my arm. I was doing about 90% of my own stunts because my ego said that I could. And I enjoy doing my stunts, I got to say, because I grew up playing football, basketball, baseball. I was an athlete growing up. So for me, it was just a hoot to do that. And we finished season 5. I get back to LA doing promotion. I went on Letterman, Leno, all his talk shows. My first big budget movie called Call the Conqueror. And I was having so much problems with my arms. I finally went to my doctor in LA before I was going to start yet another movie in Georgia before flying back to New Zealand to start season 6 on Hercules. And they found a lump way up here. Now, at the time, he wanted to do a biopsy on it. He didn't tell me, but he told me later after he found out what it really was. He said, well, at first I thought you had cancer. I thought that's not what it was. Ended up being an aneurysm, right? That was right up here, okay?
Wow. I
went to my chiropractor. And I'm laying on the table. He's working on my shoulder. We don't know what it was yet at this time, right? We hadn't found out. And I heard a voice inside my head said, don't let him crack your neck. Now, that's weird because in 8 years, this guy's never cracked my neck. He's the only chiropractor I've ever been to, 8 years up to that point. Don't crack my neck. I hate my neck cracked. So he's never cracked it. This voice over and over, don't let him crack your neck, louder. While I'm arguing with the voice, he cracks my neck this way. Because that was an aneurysm, they've been spitting blood clots slowly, causing all the pain in my left arm. It opened it up, sent hundreds of clots on my arm, sent 3 clots into my brain. I suffered 3 strokes. Oh. Now, the studio kept it pretty quiet. They said he's got an aneurysm, he'll be fine. But I actually had 4 strokes. But the speech, I was talking like this, man, you couldn't understand me. That one dissolved on the way to the hospital. The other 3 stayed. 2 went to my balance centers, and 1 went to my vision. I still had 10% lost in both eyes. Wow. It took me 4 months to learn how to walk and balance again. Obviously, I couldn't do the next movie that I was supposed to do. When I went back to shoot season 6 on Hercules, I went from a 14-hour workday to 1 hour a day. They just wanted to keep the show going. We'd shoot 1 or 2 quick scenes with me just sort of standing there. And it was a tough road. And, I had faith all my life, but I never needed faith until that hit me. Well, years later, my wife talked me into writing the book, and I wrote this book called True Strength. It's called My Journey from Hercules to Mere Mortal and How Nearly Dying Saved My Life. And people can go to kevinsorbo.net, get an autographed copy. But what's been amazing, I didn't want to write that book. It took years for me to want to write that book. In fact, it was the stroke happened on the same day Princess Di died in September of 1997, okay? This book didn't come out until 15 years later. Wow. Because I didn't want to write it. I didn't want to, the male ego is, I don't want to show how weak I'd become. My wife said, you can help a lot of people because they look up to you and they look at you playing the character you played. Here I am playing, I'm in my 30s when this happened. I'm in better shape than most guys that are athletes in their 20s. I was in great shape. And for this to happen to me, not only was it physically demanding for the 3-year recovery, but psychologically it was pretty brutal on me. Oh. So I wrote the book, took my time doing it. When it came out, I was shocked. My wife is completely right. The response from people. I still bring in my autograph to autograph shows. I do a lot of speaking events. But because of this, people found out that I was a Christian, that I was a conservative. I started getting invited to speak at medical facilities. I got invited to speak in doctors, nurses. And then it moved into moved into to churches, moved into pro-life movement. I moved into all these different places. And that door closed on my life. And this whole other door opened up, and God showed me another path. And maybe this was pretty much like the What If movies about the road I was intended to be on. I just didn't know it, and I needed a push, but I didn't appreciate this kind of push. But that's a push I got.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate. You can't do it any other way. Sometimes God has to put you through those situations, and there's no other way to learn.
Well, he warned me. I didn't listen to the voice.
True. Yeah. But he still uses it, isn't it? Isn't that amazing? God works out all things for good, regardless of the situation. I'm sure that was a difficult time for you, but that's so awesome to hear that, things have really just opened up, blossomed in a whole different way. That's great to hear. So I want to ask you, we are going to be starting a thing called Calo Creative Collective. And what we're trying to do is grab creatives from all over the islands, get them together to collaborate, to train, to work with them, maybe do some projects together. So I have a question for you. For those people, what's the one thing you would advise aspiring actors today?
I would tell people to treat it like a business. Like I said, it's called show business, not show. Never, ever give up. Don't let anyone set your limitations, especially yourself, because that's what a lot of people do. And you have to understand that failure is a good thing. No is a positive thing. It happens. There's going to be so much rejection in this industry. There always is. And you just got to plug through that. I used to caddy at this private country club. Now I'm the fourth of 5 kids. My dad was a school teacher. My mom was a nurse, but retired early, because she had 5 kids. She was a stay-at-home mom. Now, one thing they taught us was hard work. And hard work was very important. When I got this job, I did a lot of different jobs. I started a paper when I was 9 years old. For 7 years, I got up at 4:30 in the morning delivering 80 newspapers in Minnesota weather. You guys don't experience Minnesota winters, okay? We have about 4 months when it's 0 is a high and 20 and 30 below is a norm, okay?
No, thank you.
Well, I don't miss it. Trust me, I don't miss it. But then I got a job when I was in college for 2 summers. I worked at I love golf. I'm a golf nut. And when I went home, between college, my freshman, sophomore year and sophomore, junior, I caddied at this private country club. And I asked every one of these members, I would ask them during those 4 months, 3.5 months I was caddying, I say, how did you become successful? And every single one of them said the same thing. They said, well, I failed a lot, but I didn't let that slow me down. And that was huge to hear that. Even though my parents instilled very hard work ethic, it was great to hear from really successful people that they failed and failed and failed, but they used each failure as a stepping stone, and you learn from those things. And that's what I did in Hollywood, because I had every door. I'm a 13-year overnight success, so you got to put your time in and you got to work hard. And right now we live in a very instantaneous society with everything is 6-second videos, and everybody's on Twitter and Facebook and Snapchat or whatever the heck all these different things are. Yeah. And everybody just has no patience for anything, and everybody wants to be famous and successful right away. It's not going to work that way. It just doesn't work that way. And you have to work really hard to have success in life. But we're teaching. I think our public education system is broken in so many ways. Yeah. I have an after-school program that is very, very good and very successful over 20 years now. And people got to realize that parents got to become parents. I think the best thing that's come out of this whole quarantine thing is that parents got to, get to know their kids again, and force them to spend time together. Right, and absolutely. Instead of being, relying on the government to be the babysitter of our kids, because trust me, they love that. The government wants that control over your kids. To me, we homeschool. My wife's a homeschool advocate. So I recommend people get her book called They're Your Kids. It's a great book. They're Your Kids. It's a really good book.
You come to Hawaii every year, right? Is that right? You come to Hawaii every year?
I come pretty much every year. Most of the time I go to Maui. I've been very fortunate to play many times in the golf tournament that the pros play in there, in the Plantation course in Kapalua. Oh, cool. I play in the Pro-Am days. And actually a few years ago, I got a hole-in-one in number 8 at Plantation playing with Rocky Media.
That's awesome.
That was pretty
Fantastic.
Cool.
That's fun.
I love the game. I love the game of golf. It's I grew up with it. My dad worked summers at a golf course, so it's in my blood.
That's great. Well, we just had a podcast with Alex Kendrick of Kendrick Brothers Movies,
sure,
and
I know
so
Alex.
Yeah, so we've convinced him to come to Hollywood, make a movie. He's still praying about it. But hey, look, we need to get you on board. So this will give us more pressure. And so we're going to do this. So Kevin, are you on board? Can we get you out here? We can make a movie. We'll let you golf every day.
Hey, it's killing me. I was supposed to be in Lost, the TV series Lost.
No way.
They offered me one of the roles. They started our season 5 on Andromeda was season 1 there. And I was filming. I couldn't do it.
Well,
I loved Lost.
It killed me. And then I started pitching the whole remake of Hawaii Five-0. And they went younger and with an Australian instead of me. But I did come out and guest star in the role, but a guest star in one of the episodes. But I did shoot Soul Surfer, the Bethany Hamilton story. We shot for 2 months on the North Shore of Oahu there, and then we shot 2 or 3 days on the North Shore of Kauai where the attack actually happened. But I was there. I was golf. Dennis Quaid and I were golfing 3 days a week at the Turtle Bay course up there.
Oh, that's so fun.
So that's where I live, Kevin. I live up in the North Shore, and I'm always walking that beach where they filmed Lost, and love doing photography there. But yeah, so hey, we're gonna get you down here. We'll talk to Alex. We'll put you guys together and let's make a movie. That'd be so much fun.
I would love to shoot a movie in Hawaii. You kidding me? I've been wanting to shoot there forever. So let's get the funding. The funding's the hardest thing.
Yes, that's the hardest thing.
I do independent movies, and they're around $3 million. That sounds like a lot of money. That's catering on Pirates of the Caribbean. They spend. People don't understand. They spend like $300 million on an Avengers movie.
Oh, wow!
They're spending more on that right now on the James Cameron. He's doing the next 4 Avatars in a row down in New Zealand. So they spend hundreds of millions of dollars. So these are the movies we have to compete against. Even though our movies, I call them actors' movies because they're great stories. They're characters you can relate to. None of us are ever going to be Superman. None of us are ever going to be Thor. They're great movies. I love it too. But it's all about visual effects. You don't only sit there and get attached to those characters. But the movies I do movies that are real life people, that people you can relate to, people that will make you laugh, make you cry, make you think. And that's why I wanted to be an actor in the first place. And I hope people will go check out some of these movies I've done, and they can go to kevinsorbo.net and get a hold of me that way as well and see the list of movies I've been part of.
That's awesome. You know what? Hey, look, you didn't make it in Lost, but how about we make a movie? We'll call it Found.
I like it. Good title.
I like that.
Let's do it.
That's good. Kevin, thank you so much for being here with us today. It is an honor to meet you, sir. And it's been
well, it should be.
And he's humble too, I'm telling you.
I know, there's a humble button right there.
Pride comes before a fall, right?
And for our listeners, once again, if you want to learn more about Kevin Sorbo, please visit the link that's on the screen. And Kevin, it's been such a blast talking with you today.
Thanks, guys. Sorry, I had a big workout and I just got done biking, so I didn't dress up, and I got definite hat hair.
It's a perfect look for Hercules coming out from an exercise. I love it.
Perfect, guys.
Yeah. Hey guys, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell and share this on your social media. Let everybody know, hey, Kevin Sorbo was here on Talk Story Unscripted. Until next time, everybody, aloha.
Aloha.
All right, guys, take care.